Hello to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. It's Sunday afternoon on this absolutely magnificent Sydney winter's day. I've got to tell you, it's just like springtime. It's warm, it's sunny, a gentle breeze is coming through. It's not cold at all. It's quite balmy, to say the truth. And I'm up here just above the Key restaurant on this magnificent platform, which gives you an uninterrupted 360-degree view of Circular Quay. The Opera House and the beautiful, most magnificent Harbour Bridge. I haven't done a book summary in a while now, but I'm down here today and I'm in the mood. So I've got a cracker, an absolute beautiful book summary to deliver today. And the book is entitled Slow by an author known as Brooke McAlery. And Brooke has put together a number of insightful ideas in terms of how to live a better life, a less stressed life, one which doesn't have as much anxiety, depression, worry, and challenge as what we're used to. But her advice, I guess, is timely and is quite powerful. And Brooke kicks off her book with an interesting observation and a call to action. And Brooke's call to action is an address to Mr. and Mrs. Jones. And her letter is as follows: Dear Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I am writing to inform you that I'm withdrawing. I'm absolutely withdrawing from the race to keep up with you. How profound is that? We get sucked into the vortex of keeping up with the Joneses by buying things, consuming things, accumulating things, experiences, friends, even knowledge. But at the end of the day, the clear message that comes from this author is that the more you accumulate in your life, the more problems you are saddled with, and the more disappointment you will have. So let's just go through and just pick out some of the key observations, some of the key learnings from this author, and see what we can learn, see what we can take away, and see how today can be the first day of our new journey and of our new life. Because Brooke, in her book, says that we need to get on a journey to a simpler life. We need to declutter and learn to de-own, to remove the messiness from our mindfulness, to replace the where with the why, and to live an intentional life. Some very profound statements from this author, and a very reflective day for me, being a Sunday, a day off from work, where I can come down here and perch myself above all of the busyness of the life around me here down on the harbour, and observe this magnificent panorama, and at the same time use that as a backdrop for this empowering message that this wonderful author brings to us in her book entitled Slow. So Brooke, in her call to action, basically says to us to try and remove the excesses from our life and to spend more of our energy, more of our time focusing on connection and experiences as opposed to things. So what does she mean about that? So basically what she's saying is that we all reach a point in our lives where we simply don't have any more room to expand. I remember when my children were young, I said to my eldest daughter as she was growing up, I think she was about 6 or 7, and she says, and I said to her that think of your life as a balloon. Your mother and father, your teachers, your family, people around you will encourage you to grow and expand. But it'll come to a point where your balloon reaches its maximum and there's no more room to expand. And if you take on more, chances are that the balloon may explode, and with that explosion may cause some drama and some pain and suffering to you in your life. But I did mention to her, your job is to tell the people around you. If you feel that the expansion is happening too rapidly and you're at breaking point, then tell people, tell yourself to back off and to give yourself some time to stretch where possible. Because just like a balloon, when you blow it up to its limit and then slowly let the air out and then blow more air into it, just like magic, the balloon will expand to a bigger shape than what it was before. It has stretched a bit. And that's what we're all called to do in our lives, to grow and expand, but in a measured and intentional way. So there are times to take on more effort, there are times to do more things, but there's also a time where you need to back off and allow the fabric and the material that make you, that is you, to be able to take on this added expansion and added responsibility. So we all need to understand that we all reach a point where there is no more room to expand, and this is where we need to think about incorporating buffers in what we do. Just like when I worked as an accountant for the major corporates that I've worked for, all plans would have a buffer in there. You wouldn't plan the future of your organisation assuming that you're going to work at 100% all the time and everything will be perfect. There comes a point where things happen, mistakes happen, and you need a buffer. You need a buffer in your financial plan. You need buffer in everything so that you can back off and then grow again, and to be able to achieve your goals without destroying everything along the way. Because if we don't have a buffer, we feel trapped. And this author is telling us that we need to make sure that whatever we do, we're not operating, or we're not trying to operate at 100% all the time, because there's nothing worse than feeling trapped in what you're doing, in the relationships, in your social commitments, in your work commitments, and all the things that you do. So it's important, according to Brooke, to have that buffer. So the next point that the author makes is that we sometimes get trapped in this vortex, as we mentioned before, of consumption. Now we are a consumerist society, where from a very young age we're encouraged to buy more, accumulate more, do more, and just tick off the box and see how many things we can do in our life. But what the author is saying there is that for all the things that you do are first, second, and third level consequences, which either get you closer or further from your ultimate purpose. So where are we going with this? So the author here is telling us in a very beautiful and loving and caring way that we need to get off the mainstream consumption treadmill. There are a lot of people who attach their brand, attach the meaning in their life to the car that they have, to the postcode that they live in, to the company brand that they work for or the career that they have. But according to this author, all of these things are considered a lifestyle inflation. So you just keep on building and building and building until you get to the point where you can't really let go, because you've attached so much value to these things that it's impossible to let go without feeling that you're missing out. These many choices, these too many choices, according to the author, create unbearable anxiety, misery, pain, and unhappiness. And this overabundance that we have, what the author is saying is that we live in a world of abundance, and yet our mentality is a scarcity one. So you think that you're missing out. But the reality is that within our lifetimes, we have more than enough time to do all the things that you want to do. But you need to do them one by one. You can't do them all at once. And you need to pick and choose the most important things to do at any one point in time, rather than try and multitask, because through multitasking, you're not going to achieve all that much, because you're going to get distracted, you're going to get disappointed, you're going to get kneecapped, and you're going to get sabotaged, either from others around you or by yourself. So the author's saying here is that what you really need to be doing is to be wanting less. And whilst it sounds counterintuitive, wanting less, according to the author, provides you with more. But you need to find, as we mentioned, your own purpose, your own why, and your own calling or callings. So as you can see, this is a very, very powerful and profound statement. And it cuts across all of our learnings. It certainly cuts across my Christian background, my Christian beliefs, where it's more about what you do and what you give to others, rather than what you accumulate and what you achieve on your own. And as we said, to find your purpose, to find your callings, so that at the end of your life, you feel fulfilled, you feel satisfied, and you feel happy with what you've done, because you've been on the right track, on the right path to do what you wanted to do. So the author here says that if you don't have a compelling why, the hows will never stick. You know, you need to understand, and you need to stand by what you stand for. Because if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. That's the key message from this author. And as we said, we need to align our life with our values, not our parents' values, not our boss's values, not our partner's values, or uncles or aunts or grandparents or cultural values. You've got to identify and embrace your own calling and your own values. And that means that you need to sit down, you need to figure them out. You need to have mentors and people that you can rely on, that you can work with to help you build up what those values are. And you need to align your life with your values, as well as your actions and your goals to be congruent with your values. Because the why needs to come first, and the how will work itself out subconsciously, is what the author is saying. So once again, very, very powerful statement here. The why needs to come first. We need to understand what our why is, what our purpose is. And that, if it comes first, the how will work itself out subconsciously. So you need to first figure out the why. Convince yourself of the why. Embrace the why. And once you've done that, everything else will figure itself out. Because with the whys, you will eliminate procrastination and make decisions. The most important thing to do is to make decisions rather than to think about things and to prepare for things. Because if you're not acting, if you're not action-oriented and objective with what you're doing, you may never get there. So why, according to this author, is the antidote to overload. If you know what your why is, you just won't get tired. You won't get burnt out. You won't get despondent. You won't get depressed. You won't be as anxious, because you know what you're trying to do. You can see it in your mind's eye. So the call to action from this author is that we all need to steadily commence the downshift in our life. And it's a gradual process. You can't go from running 1,000,000 miles an hour to slowing down immediately. You need to do it in a measured way. And the author here says that one of the things that we need to do is that we need to opt out of the Joneses lifestyle in order to find peace, in order to find harmony, in order to find purpose and satisfaction and fulfillment in our lives. Because what the author here is saying is that by opting out and by downshifting, you'll experience more. We're not saying not to buy things, but what we're saying is not to buy too many things. Buy once and buy well. Spend twice as much and get half as many. Because having too many things creates clutter in your mind. You need, if you've got too many cars, you need to maintain them, you need to insure them, you need to wash them, you need to, be careful where you park them. There's so many things that go with ownership. So what we're saying in here is that having too many things in our lives causes tremendous distress to many people. So by downshifting and by having less, I'm not saying having less in terms of quality, but less in terms of quantity, then you can potentially have a better life. Because most people struggle because they are simply overcommitted. They've got too many social functions. They've got too many work functions. They've got too many things that they're planning to do and do at the same time, that they can't really think clearly and do it in a measured and progressive way. So the author here says that by downshifting, we become emotionally available to the things that we're trying to achieve and the people that we're trying to connect with. It's important to be available to the things which are most important to you. This availability will give you progress, will give you commitment, it will give you outcome, is what I'm trying to say. So once again, the call to action from this author is to declutter our physical, our mental, our emotional and our spiritual spaces. It's not just the one thing. You know, you don't just declutter your house. You know, we need to declutter the different aspects, the different parts of our lives in order to feel liberated from all of that pressure, from all of that overwhelming responsibility that comes with being hogtied to too many things and too many commitments. So your psychological space, according to this author, and this is a very, very powerful point. Listen clearly to this one here, because I think it is really, really powerful. Your psychological space begins to mimic your physical space. When I worked at IBM back in the mid-80s, when it was the best company in the world, or one of the best and most admired companies in the world, IBM had a clear desk policy. And you've got no idea how powerful it was to clear your desk at the end of the day and come into a new, clean environment the next morning and start from fresh. And because what the author here is saying is that your psychological space begins to mimic your physical space. If your house, if your office, if your car, if your environment, your work environment is a mess, then chances are that you're going to start reflecting that in your sloppy processes and in your sloppy thinking and in your sloppy engagements. So something to think about. It's important to work in a clear and clean environment because it has many first, second and third level consequences that a lot of people are not aware of. But this author brings it to the forefront and reminds us how important it is to work in a clean space. So you need to clear out your room, clean your car, clean your office space, and you know, manage your appearance as well, because that all will have an impact on many things in your life. The author also goes on to talk about something here which is pretty well new, and hadn't quite considered this before. But he says that to care more, you basically need to care less. And all of us have 24 hours in a day, and we all can choose how to spend that time. And the more you let go, the more your spirit emerges. If you're hyper-connected, you become increasingly isolated. So social media, having this hyper connection to other people via social media, via email, via Instagram, Facebook, and all the other forms, whilst you think you're connected to lots of people and lots of causes, this hyper connectivity, according to this author, leads to increasing isolation. So the bottom line, so I'll finish up now. So thank you very much for hearing me out on this beautiful day where it's starting to get less sunny. The sun's going down over there in the west. The shadows are starting to get longer. The author here says something which is really powerful. The more you let go, the more you allow your spirit, your soul, to emerge. So what we're saying here is that by decluttering, by downshifting, by deconnecting, and by giving yourself a bigger buffer in your life and what you do, you're going to give yourself, you're going to give your soul, you're going to give your spirit more of an opportunity to express itself, rather than to be distracted and for it to be overwhelmed, I guess, by all of the things that are happening in the world around it. So thank you very much once again. I'll finish up here. Thanks very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club. This is the first one I've done for this week. I'm working some very long hours at the moment, so I don't get an opportunity to get up or to get down here first thing in the morning because I start work at 6. But I'll try and do as many as I can. Whilst I'm not delivering vlogs, what I'm doing is every day is I'm taking notes and I'm preparing future vlogs. So I'm not losing out by not doing the vlogs. I'm just pushing them into the future. But I am doing the prep work and I'm all getting ready to do them once I get the opportunity to, just like today. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. I wish you a happy Sunday night and a great start to the work week. And hopefully this weather is on the improve. I can sense it getting a little bit warmer. I can sense springtime is getting here. There's less than 40 days to the beginning of September, sorry. So we're well on our way to spring and to another beautiful summer. Take care, everybody. Yassas, and bye for now from Jim on Jim's 5am Club. Yassas. Bye.